As a musician, it's important to know your scales. When I say scales, I'm talking letters, and I'm also talking numbers. In my experience doing touring, gigging of any kind, live application, music, studio settings, oftentimes the number system is used more than the letters. And let me show you why. Because the number system is universal. It can be applied as the same numbers in every kind of scale. So in the method that I'm going to show you right now as a bass player, I'm going to show you what I think, how I think when I'm playing. All right. So for illustration purposes, we've got my virtual fretboard down below, and I'm going to show you that all of the numbers, we're going to be in the key of C. So here's where I need to know my note, right? So C is right here where you see the black dot. And notice that 1, I put a whole bunch of numbers on this fretboard down below, all the way up to my 12th fret. What those numbers represent are all the numbers for a C major scale, and we'll talk about what letter notes each number is, but these numbers are there for references, all right? So let's go ahead and get started. We're in the key of C. If you are a 5-string bass player, this has 5 strings down below. If you're a 4-string bass player, ignore the bottom one. This one, the one that's lighting up right there, you can ignore that string. I'm not even going to touch it for this application in this video. But let's go ahead and go to C. Now, let's talk about positioning. So if I'm looking at my 4 fingers that I have, I'm going to place my middle finger on C. Not sure if you can see that really well. All right. Now, in this position, I'm going to call it a block. It's like a rectangle, and I'm going to show you a diagram when we're done demonstrating this. But this represents my home bass, all right? It's my root note, it's my C. If I look at my pointer finger, it naturally falls on the fret before it, and then my ring finger naturally falls on the fret after it, and my pinky finger on that. So in consecutive frets, okay, I've got those 4 notes, and I haven't shifted my hand out of position. Remember that my middle finger is the root in this position, C. Now, notice that the number I put on that fretboard says 1 right now. There's a black circle underneath that 1. 1 represents the root note of your scale. We're in C major. C major. Jump to your pinky. Pinky now is on D. And again, I have not shifted my hand. And D would be your second note in a C major scale. Next string, pointer finger. The black circle is under the 3. That is your E. Then we've got F is the 4th note in the scale, middle finger. Skip a fret, go to your pinky. We are G. And notice you can hit G open on the G string, but there's no need for that because we are in this home position, right? So C, D, E, F, G is the 5th note. Hit it right there with the pinky. Then we're going to go pointer finger on the next string, on the G string. That's A. That's your 6th note in the scale. Then the only one we're using ring finger for, that would be your B, number 7 note. And then pinky hits the octave back to the root, which is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and no 8 because 8 would be the root octave, all right? That is how you think of the number system. It's a number that represents each note in the scale, and in this scale, we're in a major scale, all right? 6, 7, and 1. All right, now, take a look at what I just threw up on the screen up here. That is the pattern that in my mind, I'm literally thinking this way for a major scale. And this is something that visually you should get familiar with, because that pattern can be shifted up. Let me take this off to remove any confusion for what I'm about to do. So I'm going to take, instead of going C, I'm going to shift up to C sharp, sorry. So if they say the key of C sharp major, it's the same pattern. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? So the pattern works in any place that you go on your neck. 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is the, that was another key, but the major numbers for a major scale, the numbers, all right, number system. Now, I'm going to call this position your regular major scale position, all right? Pattern, I should say. That's your regular pattern. Let me bring this number overlay back on. Now, it's good to know things in multiple places on your neck. It's good to know things in multiple patterns, how you can play this. I'm going to show you what I'm going to call a major scale stretch pattern, all right? So let me change this. Okay, I'll bring it up in a second. Let me show it to you first. So you notice here, before my roots was my middle finger. That was my home place. We are going to stretch our pinky finger, and the roots C is going to be tackled now. My home position will be my pointer finger, finger number 1. Now, here's the problem. If I were doing the same kind of thing that I did on the last regular position, I would have not to shift my fingers, right? Everything would be consecutive. Now that I'm going to do this stretch pattern, if I go 4 fingers, notice that I'm hitting the 1. The 2 would be with my 3rd finger. And now my pinky is not hitting a note in the major scale. So what I have to do is stretch this pinky over to hit the 3. All right? So what makes sense for me, you may have to stretch it differently for your finger. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just knowing this pattern in the stretch pattern, all right? So this is the C major stretch. So pointer finger, I'm finding it easier to stretch between my pointer and my middle finger because they're longer. So the 2, I'm going to hit with my middle finger. So I'm stretching. Then the 3 would naturally, a little bit more naturally feel with that pinky. So if I'm just going to go between 1, 2, 3. And this is good to stretch your fingers because you're not always going to be in some optimal position to play something. If I'm doing this in regular position, it's not a big deal. If I'm filling in and I'm working, right? I'm playing in the middle of playing, and it naturally feels like I'm in this area, and I'm used to stretching, it's not a big deal. So you got to get used to stretching. You can use your ring finger on 2 and stretch the pinky. Now my middle finger is just resting. Okay? So that's 1, 2, 3. Now let's go to the 4. Pointer finger is at home. Okay, so 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Next string. Up to you if you want to use middle finger or ring finger, but one of them is going to have to stretch. I'm going to go middle finger on 5. And notice as I stretch, I can kind of cheat a little bit and slide my pointer finger up. Okay, you don't. The point of this is not for you to put your hand through punishment and pain. All right. You'll find what feels right for you. So we're at 4, middle finger. I pulled off my pointer. Middle finger is 5. 6 is going to be my pinky. So let's go back again. 1, 2, 3. Jump to the next string. 4. Middle finger. I pulled up off my pointer to give it a rest. 6 is the pinky, so we skip. Now we're good for the rest of this. 7, because I pulled my finger off, the pointer finger. My pointer finger is naturally falling on the 7 now. I'm not stretching anymore. So the 7 would be my pointer. And then my middle finger would be the 1. So let's run this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let go of the pointer. 6, pinky. 7, pointer. Again. I'm going to run it again. Look at my pointer finger. Pull it up. I'm stretching, stretching. Let it up. And that's the stretch position. All right. So let me show you that up here. That's basically the pattern that we just did. Stretch between the 1 and the 2, stretch between the 4 and the 5. Ah! Hold it there, let it up. All right? So these are 2 patterns, C major. They're major patterns. Again, let me demonstrate for you. I'll take off the numbers because they won't be correct if I shift into another key. If I go to the key of D, same pattern up and down. Major. Okay. Stretch position. Stretch pattern. If I go back, let's do a regular pattern. Switch to the stretch pattern. Ah, I cheated. Regular pattern. Up and down. Now stretch. Back down. Okay? It's good to practice between both so that you get used to it. Remember, you also want to train your ear. And once you get used to these patterns, you'll flow up and down your neck. You'll feel more comfortable. Whatever key you're in, whenever somebody calls the 5, we're in the key of, let's go back to C because I want you to have that visual. Okay? So we are in the key of C. I'm just going to groove, all right? Basic groove. Half notes, right? Let's go to the 2. Back to the 1. I'm cheating all over the place. I'm not. Keep your fingers in the root position. We're in the 1. Notice how I'm throwing in notes. 2. 1. Let's go to the 5. 4. 3. 2. We're rocking Mary Had a Little Lamb. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Mary had 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1. Now I'm not calling it ahead of time, but that's how you would flow in a setting where you're flowing, right? Where you're feeling it with the band, they're calling out stuff to you. So know your patterns, know your scales. I will go into some new stuff in a new video, staying in the C major. We're going to get into triads. Thanks, guys.